Good morning. Go to start off with our stretches. So we're going to start with milking the cow. So just grabbing hold, making a fist, and just pumping out. Try and get that blood flowing through the hands, into the forearms, into the fingers. Do about 5 or 6 of these. And we're going to start with our wrists now. We're going to get wrists stretched out, grabbing hand to the back of the hand, stretching out, wrist twist out. And I had a really good Christmas. I hope everybody also had a good Christmas. I see that we have CRC here. We have Navaldo is here already. Glad to see everybody's here early. Wrist twist out. And again, just getting this blood flowing, just doing the stretches really quick to get moving after a long weekend. I live in Wisconsin, and it was in pulling our fingers back. It was in the negatives during the entire Christmas week. I think today is the first time it's gonna be above 0. I have a snowdrift in front of both my garage doors that's about 4 feet tall, and I still have not gotten to it. And that came pushing down on the wrist, and that came probably about 4 days ago. So after I'm done filming today, I will be going out and snow blowing. For those of you in the south, that's a machine that actually picks the snow up and blows it for you. We're going to do our shoulder and bicep stretch. Put the edge of your thumb on the table, turn and twist. So that is my goal today. Today at the yellow belt level, though, what we're going to be doing is we're going through and practicing what we started last week in the last session. We're going to do some mini squats. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to go through, we're going to do our dice sets. We're going to turn and keeping your back straight, your neck straight, just stretching out so it's past your knees again. So we're going to go through, we're going to work on our dice sets again. We're going to go work on our barrel dice. And now we're going to start with the regular dice. And what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on throwing them down the table and trying to keep them together. So that way they're not flying as random at the end of the table. And I'll talk more about that when we get up to that a little bit later in the training session today. So let's move on to George's corner. And this is a continuation here, guys, of where we started in the last session here, where we were looking at constants. So George is talking about different things that we can control, things that we can try to make constant, or in my terminology, make it a habit. Make it muscle memory, make it so that we don't have to worry about it as much in the casino. So he goes, posture. This is something that's easy to keep constant at the start, and it's difficult to maintain during longer periods at the table due to fatigue and body type. He talks about starting position. He says it's easy throughout unless your position is taken from another person. So in other words, your position at the table. He talks about dice starting position. So before we grip them and after we grip them, that's easy throughout. And he continues or follows that up with grip. And he says that once it's mastered, it's easy to keep constant through repetition. He talks about grip pressure, and he says it's difficult to maintain through a long session. So, when you first start off, it's going to be a little bit easier, but as you go through, you got to really focus, you got to really concentrate, and that's where our training sessions, our morning dice training sessions are coming in to hopefully, work on that and making it a constant. He talks about finger position on the dice. And he goes, it's easy to keep constant once you've mastered it through repetition. So we're going to continue in our next session talking about the constants again. We're going to follow through and we're going to talk about more of the constants as we go forward. So that's a few of the things that he's talking about. And again, like I said, with the constants, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure we get these constants down, and that's through practice at the craps table. And our morning sessions here, guys, pick up the dice, grab a set of dice, go through, practice with me, and get the time in, get the repetitions in, get everything down, guys. So it's so habitual, so it's so constant that that's one less thing that you need to worry about when you get to the craps table. Again, there's so many variables we need to deal with, but that is what we need to work on. Okay, so we're going to work on dice strips. With the white belt level, remember it's 10 sessions long minimal. And we are on video here on session number 5 for the yellow belt. And session number 5. And during the weekends are the in-between video sessions here. You need to be practicing, even though I'm not here instructing, I'm not here pushing you guys, I'm not here encouraging you guys to do so. But we're going to start off with a review of the white belt. We're going to do 10 dice strips. So just get into your grip. I use the Yuri grip. Not going to really explain it too much. If you really want to find out more about the grip that I use, look in some past sessions. I know that in episode number 7, this is episode number 8 here, but in episode number 7, I talked to Chiro, and it's towards the beginning of the video. And I go through and I talk about my Yuri grip, or my 3-finger front diagonal grip, and how I get into it and why I get into it. But the reason I was talking to Chiro specifically in that video is that night prior, he was going through some throwing sessions, some practice training sessions on video. He was doing it live. And I was trying to help him through chat, which is very difficult to do. So I actually made that part of the video towards him. And in there, I show you exactly how and why I use that Yuri grip, or the 3-finger front diagonal. So that's about 10 of them there, guys. As we go through our training, we're going to keep on working on those dice strips. It's important that we get them down. We're going to go through our drop tests. So just rotating back, we're going to release with the thumb, not the fingers. So release the thumb, not the fingers. The reason being is that way we can help minimize pushing with the thumb once we start throwing with the regular dice here. When you push with the thumb, the dice tend to split apart, something that we are trying to avoid, because that is one of the things we're going to be doing later in the session today, is throwing the dice down the table and trying to keep them as close as we can together. So in other words, when they rotate down the table, we're going to try to keep them so they're together rather than splitting apart and going down the table and going up whatever direction they land in, but keeping them so that they try to stay together as much as possible. So it's about 5 drops here. Okay. And then we're going to go into our dice setting. We're only going to do 2 of the set today, and I'll show you why with this. So we're going to start off with 12, 23. So we're looking for 1, 2, 2, 3. So our dice set right there. Again, it does not matter which order we get in. If we get the 2, 3 first, and then we go to the 1, 2 second, that's fine. Do whatever's comfortable for you. Again, I keep on announcing it out loud, or not out loud, in my mind, I should say, what number I'm looking for. So I'm looking for 1, 2, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3. And the goal is to go through, I have 9 sets here, so this is what I do on this yellow board at this point of our training here. But the goal is to try to get through them as fast as you can. And then, guys, when you're doing this training at home, try to get into the dice stuff, but try to talk while you're doing it. It actually adds a little bit of an element to the setting that makes it a little bit more difficult to concentrate and to do. The second set we're going to work on dice setting today is our all 7 set, our 5, 4, 2, 3 set. Just mix them up here. So we go with 5, 4 and 2, 3. It's our all 7s, 7s on all sides here. Okay. 5, 4, 2, 3. Let's go through that really quick. So in the chat here, guys, talk about how your Christmas was. What was the most amazing thing that happened to you over this Christmas season? What was the one gift that you got that you really enjoyed? And for me, my significant other, my girlfriend, actually bought me electric stuff. And what I mean by electric stuff is that she bought me an electric jacket. So it's a jacket that pushes a little button and it actually heats up for me. And I can use that for hunting. She bought me a pair of electric socks because we are in Wisconsin here, guys. And when I'm outside doing stuff, it does get very cold. And that's one of the first things that gets cold on me is electric socks, or my feet. And then she also, this surprised me, got me an electric hat. I didn't even know they made them. But it's a hat to keep my chrome dome warm. So let's go get the chat really quick here. We have CRC's in here, guys. We have Victor in here and Geraldo. So hopefully we get some more people as we go through the session here. Okay, now we're gonna go to our barrel dice. We're gonna do, let's do about 5 to 6 throws. So all we're going to do is we're going to get back into our dice grip again with the barrel dice. It's the dice that are taped together. Again, check out the yellow belt video so that you guys can see that. Now, Alfredo from Texas Craft Shooters came in towards the end of my training session in episode number 7, and he noticed that my dice are not straight like most people teach. And I told him to go back in the video and check it out once, and I'll explain to you why I do that. Because when I set up my dice, I used to go square up and then try to keep the hand square throughout the whole throw. And I kind of unveiled that when I come up, my hand is not square at the release point here, guys. So I turn the dice so they're square, and then you drop them down onto the table. And when you do that, you're going to find that they do have an angle onto it. And George talks about constants here, guys. So if I can make this a constant, so in other words, I don't have to worry about twisting my wrist or keep my wrist straight or whatever, I'm going to find my natural starting position. Alfredo, once I explained it to him, used this analogy, and this is a great analogy, as with golf. He said, it's not important on how you start your swing, it's how the swing ends or how it finishes. So in other words, if you want the ball to go a certain direction, use a certain behavior, you want to make sure that you have the end of your swing perfect, so that way it's going to hopefully do what you want it to do. Same thing with the dice here. I'm more worried about the ending position than what I am the starting position. So I'm going to adjust that starting position so that I have the same ending position that I want, which is going to be square dice when I release them. So let's go about 5 or so with the barrel dice. We're going to throw it down. I'm not so much worried about distance right now. I'm more worried about the behavior of the dice when they get to the opposite end of the table. So again, I get in position. One thing I want you guys to concentrate on today, and this is what the barrel dice, plus when we get to the regular dice, is when you set the dice, try to do it in a line in front of your shoulder here. Once you get the dice in your grip, you can actually move it to a point that's center on your body. So we're going to start off to the side here, get into our grip, bring it back to an area that is center with our body. And what we're doing is we're trying to make sure there's no wobble in this barrel dice. They're going down and flying straight. And let's go 2 or 3 more here, guys, and then we'll go to the regular dice. Again, we're concentrating on minimizing or eliminating that pendulum backswing. So I'm going to try to minimize or eliminate this. If you can go straight off, that is preferable. Again, like I said, I have a slight, when I watch my video back, I have a slight backswing, but I'm trying to minimize that as much as possible. Start off the side, bring it center, find your spot, and during your training, guys, make sure you get about 10, 20 of these barrel dice throws down. We're going to end it right there for now, but what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our regular dice. When you're doing your regular dice for practice purposes here, this is where we're trying to minimize the amount of stuff that we're going to set that hard way set. So that way, that's one less thing we have to do when we practice our dice sets at the beginning. But set the hard way set, get into your grip, and get set. Now, my goal is, when I'm doing this for the first time with the regular dice, is to make sure you have your grip, that the dice are set up properly. And by properly, I mean making sure that there's no gaps in here, everything's square, everything's tight. And if you're having a difficult time doing that, before you even start throwing the dice, make sure you keep on practicing until you get that down. So you want to make sure that they're square, you want to make sure that they're tight, and if they're not, set them down, get back into that grip, and go again. Okay, so I'm set, weight is equal on both feet, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to find a spot towards the end of the table. I don't care if it hits the back wall or not at this point. My main goal is to throw the dice down so they stay relatively close together and they do not roll off to the side like it just did. And that was the lack of focus on my part, simply because I'm going through and trying to show it to you guys. Obviously, when you want things to work, they don't. But our goal is to keep the dice so they're going down the table together and as tight as possible. And if you would slow-mo it, the revolutions of the dice, so in other words, rolling, or as they go down, they're going to be spinning at the same speed together. Again, this hard way set, either later this week or next week, we'll talk about hard way set and what we're going to be looking for. As a side note, our sevens will most likely come up on a hard way set if you're double pitching, which means one dice rolls. That was not a bad throw at all. The reason they bounced off at the side at the time is I threw it a little bit long, and that was the result right there, guys. If you can see it on the video here, this number that we don't want. But anyhow, look at that, the dice going down the table, it's coming at the same revolution, so spinning at the same rate, sticking together as close as possible. The other thing that we're doing here at this level is we're going to try to make sure that they land flat, if we can get them to land flat. And the reason I know, or the way I know that they land flat is because if they land on the side, you're going to throw off to the left. If they land on this side, you're going to throw off to the right. So you kind of watch the behavior of the dice right now. So we're trying to get them to fly down together, and we're also trying to get them to land flat. So dice are square. I'm set up. We're going to throw them down with a forward pendulum. And that was actually a pretty good throw. One of the dice did go off axis a little bit, but we'll work on that next week or later this week on what I mean by axis or off axis. So hopefully you guys have the dice in hand. Hopefully you guys are going through and doing your practicing with me. And both went off axis that time because they were not square when I released them. So I need to check that to make sure that they are square when I'm releasing them. And again, I'll show you guys a little bit later this next week or next week on what we're looking for when I'm talking about on axis or off axis. dice out. So right there is where it is, right there. I need to make sure they're just twisted just a little bit. And again, I threw it a little bit long, so that way that one flew off to the side, the other one died right down towards the wall. And with the Christmas holidays here, I did get some practice in, guys, not as much as I would like to have had. Remember the yellow belt here is 10 sessions long. And that one hit the mixing ball. Mixing ball is this corner right over in here. You don't want to do, you want to go straight down the line. So you want it to go straight into the wall. And that's where the practice comes in, guys. Making sure that you get your swing so it's comfortable, but you're also throwing it straight down the table. That's a visual thing as well as a constant thing. So we're trying to train our arms so it becomes a constant throw straight, but you're not veering off to the side at all. That was a very good throw, and it did go straight down. We're going to go through a couple more here, guys, and then I added a new section to the training here. It's called Homework Corner because we all love homework, right? So we'll go through the homework stuff. So dice out. And there you go. We both stayed on axis. They both died by the wall. 5-4. I did flip. 5-4. Center field 9. Again, we're not really worried about what the results are right now. We are more worried about getting them so they fly down, they stick together, which that one did do, and that they're landing square on the table, which they did. And we're 5-3-8, another round axis throw. And we're gonna go through one more here, guys and gals, for the gals that are watching. And dice out. That one flew really nice. If you guys can see that on camera, that was a double pitch, so that's not a good thing. But that is something to be expected with 4-3-7. That is something to be expected with the hardway set. So something that you want to kind of work on in that. CRC is talking about the finger knuckles touching the felt. My finger knuckles are touching the felt. They're not touching very hard though. It's a relatively light thing. So when I am in my set here, my middle, my ring ones are actually touching. Pinky's off to the side. This one here is not touching my index finger, but it's very, very light. So that way I can still bring it forward. I don't have to lift it up per se. I can still just bring it forward and throw it straight down. That was a really good throw. Both of them died immediately at the bottom of the table here. Thank you, CRC. You see Nemo's here. Good morning, Nemo. So, okay, let's go through here, guys, and let's go through homework corner. So everybody loves homework. So basically what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you before the next session here, get in your 10 dice strips, you're gonna get in your 5 drop test, you're gonna get in your dice setting, the 1, 2, 2, 3, and a 5, 4, 2, 3, at least 10 times each. But then I want you guys to get the regular dice practicing here. So you're gonna go through 20 to 25 rows here with the regular dice, and you can try to get them to go down the table so they're sticking together and that they land square on the table. But Anyway, guys, I hope you had a good training session today. My name is Joe, and this is my Craftsmaster Dice Shooting Journey. Let's make it yours as well.